Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming here to my daily journal of this war. This is October 24th. We are on the 18th day of the war since October 7th, since the Hamas massacre on October 7th. And I'm just going to give you a few updates today, so it will be a relatively short update. First of all, the ground invasion. So the ground invasion into Gaza has not started. There are a multiplicity of theories as to what is keeping us, the Israeli army, from attacking. Things that start from, international pressures to hold back, etc., to more likely considerations, which I'll just share with you the leading ones that I've heard of. First of all is, of course, the hostages. There still are over 200 hostages, some of them foreign nationals, in the hands of Hamas. And they have released 2 additional hostages today. And some people are saying that, we're trying to avoid starting the ground invasion before we've seen how many hostages can be released this way. Naturally, Israel cannot condition the start of the ground operation on releasing all the hostages. We have several million people in this country. They cannot be themselves hostage to a hostage situation. So, but of course, as many as we can. Every life is an entire world that you're saving, and I'm sure that Israel is doing what it can. And you have to remember that one of the ways to help release hostages is to put pressure on Hamas, and a ground invasion would do that precisely. We also have some evidence from people talking to people in the Gaza Strip, showing that the citizens of Gaza, the Palestinians there, are, at least some of them, are losing faith in Hamas, moving south, despite Hamas telling them to stay put. This is all very good in the sense that the weaker Hamas becomes, the more chance there is to overthrow them eventually. I have severe doubts that that's what's going to happen. I don't think that the Palestinian populace in Gaza has ever shown any kind of backbone and willingness to stand up to its oppressors, to the Hamas. But at least perhaps that will allow us to hurt less civilians and focus mostly on the Hamas militants. The other reasons that are brought up for the delay are either the fact that we have other allies that are positioning their forces, such as the U.S., in places that are more defensible in case Iran escalates, or easier to help Israel from. And that could very well be. And finally, I think the main reason why the ground invasion is being held back is because as much as we can do from the air to destroy parts of the, let's say, above ground section of Gaza, the better. Buildings and all those places are both places where you can position sharpshooters and booby traps. The more we can destroy from the air, or later on with artillery without setting foot in Gaza, the better. And you have to remember that most of the Hamas militants are probably hiding away in the underground tunnels that they have built. They have used lots of the foreign aid and cement and metal that they received to build houses and to improve their sewage system, to build rockets and build bunkers. And there's a whole city of bunkers underneath Gaza. Again, they simply hide amongst civilian population, and they're most likely waiting for us to enter Gaza and then emerge from these tunnels and attack. So the more we can destroy entrances to the tunnel, the more we pack them in, the more we prevent them from having lots of easy entry points and exit points. And that's definitely one of the things that we're trying to do in the days leading up to that. So that's what's happening in terms of the military operation. Furthermore, we have more and more footage that's being released, sometimes in part, sometimes just being reported to exist, that we know now from the terror attack on October 7th. and I'll give you two major updates on that. The first one is that Israel, as I mentioned to you a while back, has a lot of footage that Hamas themselves took, and also footage from when we arrived to the scene of these massacres. Um, and some of it is just too horrible to watch, but it happened. And Israel is trying to sort of figure out what to do. If they show it, they're also maybe letting the world see what we went through, but they're also giving power to the Hamas because they're giving the Hamas, um, the ability to gloat, right? Look how much we did to you. Look how powerful we are. Um, look how macho we are. So what Israel decided to do was to collect this evidence and bring in between 100 and 200, I think, foreign correspondents into a room. And over the past 48 hours, they put them in a room and they showed them this footage. Some of them couldn't last the whole thing. Apparently, it was really, really horrid. I won't list it over here. I'm sure you can find it online, like the descriptions. But without actually releasing the footage. This way, the idea is that the foreign correspondents can go back to their countries, report on what they saw, tell the world the truth, make sure people don't try to hide the truth and deny that it happened. There were beheadings. There were women that were killed with babies still in their womb. There were terrible mutilations of bodies. I won't go into the details here, but the hope is that these foreign correspondents will go back and report on what they saw, but without giving Hamas the morale victory of having this publicized fully. So that's one thing that happened, and this goes also to another point, which is that some of the hostages, two hostages were released, and one of them was in a hospital today in Israel, and people rushed to interview her. I don't know all the details. There was some stir there about how could they allow foreign correspondents and also Israeli correspondents to interview her and let her talk and maybe give information, maybe present a picture that will favor Hamas. Meaning, one of the things that she apparently said was, let's say, refer to how she was treated well once they had collected them, once they had kidnapped them, right? After you killed half my family, then you treated me nicely. But everybody can now clip and slice and talk about, oh, how moral Hamas is, that they treat their civilian hostages morally, which of course is obscene. One thing I think that it's important for you to know if you hear about this is that these hostages themselves have still relatives that are still themselves hostages. So they might have, so even if it might of course be true that once they were kidnapped, they were treated humanely, one way or another. But remember these people also, if I knew that I had relatives that are still hostages, I wouldn't want to anger their captors, right? I would, of course, hold back on certain things that I knew, so as not to risk my relatives. So, it's just heartbreaking situation, and just be aware of the complexity of the issue. The last point that I want to talk about, actually, there's two more points that I want to talk about. One of them is the bigger picture of what Hamas had planned. So, again, the full details of this are not being disclosed to the public, but from documents found on the bodies of Hamas casualties, from interviews that were done with the Hamas people that we had caught as part of captured Hamasnik operatives, we now know that Hamas had plans that were much, much grander than what they had done. And what they had done was horrendous, but they had actually planned to go deeper into Israel, take over additional army bases, kill more people, use our citizens as human shields, and basically hold on to sections of Israel for weeks, maybe hoping to have Hezbollah and others enter at the same time, right? Like a combined attack. And while what happened to us on October 7th was horrendous, and and people have to account for it, the thought that had we responded less intensely at the time with our SWAT teams, with our like special units and and with the local units on the ground in the different towns, that things could have been even worse is just mind-boggling. So you might hear some stuff about that as well. Finally, I want to just address one bigger picture question that Israel has to address, has to think about, and this is a bit of a more complex topic. And that is the issue of free speech versus preventing terror, inciting for terrorism during this period. So, a democracy is built on the idea of free speech. People should be able to voice their opinion, and just because you don't like somebody's opinion, that doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to do so. And we, of course, would like as little as possible government control over what is allowed speech and what is not, because that can, of course, be, a recipe for disaster of human rights and of all that makes us really a democracy. At the same time, in a time of war, you have to be extra careful, especially when, in our case, we have a large Israeli Arab population in Israel, some of which is very pro-Israel, and some of which is more radicalized. And as we've seen just 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, there was a big operation, Keeper of the Walls, or guarding the walls, and there was huge uprisings within the Israeli Arab population that was very violent. And at a time like this, after such an attack by Hamas, when we might appear weak, certain elements in the Israeli Arab population might see it as an opportune moment to perform their own acts of terror. And so Israel has to be extra cautious about allowing people to incite for terrorism, and because the price might be human lives in a very immediate and real sense. And these things, of course, can spread like wildfire. It's like copycat killers, right? You see one person does it, you see that they get respect from their surroundings, and you do it too. So far, the Israeli Arabs have not done anything, and that's also partly because their own political representatives in the Knesset have told them not to. That's to their credit. But it can always, be for one rogue person to set things aflame. So there has been a lot of attention from the police for people that incite to violence and for terrorism. But of course, it's a very difficult topic, right? When it's clear cut, an imam in a mosque saying "Go kill the Jews," fine. So I know what's going on. But how about a person that posts something on their Facebook page, like a picture of a Hamas atrocity and just a smiley face? Is that, considered incitement for terror? Maybe it's enough just to show that you're happy with it, and maybe that already can spread because of the way social networks work. And remember, it's not just in times of peace. It's one thing. Things are localized. Here, things can spread very quickly. We saw all the protests that happened surrounding the false accusations that Israel had attacked a hospital in Gaza. And what happens if Israel now has to face off an angry mob in its own borders, and how will that, what kind of conflagration will that cause? And at the same time, we don't want government to control our speech. People should be able to express what they think. You should still be able to be, pro-Palestinian, even if you're not pro-violence. So it's a delicate topic. If you look at other countries in times of war, like Britain in World War II, they weren't extremely. They had limitations on free speech to support the war effort. And I'm not trying to say that I have the answer. I don't think there is a good answer. I think I'm trying to show the problem. You might hear in the coming days of Israel being too lenient or too strict, depending on your personal position on this topic. Just remember, it's not an easy question. It's something Israel will have to deal with, and I'm sure that there'll be mistakes. and we will have to address them as we go along. But difficult times and difficult measures. That's what I guess we have to say. So that's it for now. I hope I just pray that our troops come back safely, that things go well, and that we really take good care of them and make sure that they enter Gaza in the most favorable situation, and that as little as possible innocent people get hurt. Yeah, thank you very much, and stay safe. Good night. Until tomorrow.